Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for coming to the webinar. And just a housekeeping issue, if which you would please put yourself on mute. We'd appreciate that so that we can clearly hear who's talking. So I'm Joanne Nazer. I am new to the Washington County Community Foundation as its manager of nonprofit leadership and engagement. This is day 2, and so far it's going fantastic. So we're excited that the Getting Back to Basics reboot for the Day of Giving is being launched today. So as Alicia and I were talking, that it's we thought it would be a sunny May 2nd day, but it seems like it's winter, but not really. So we're just happy that you're participating. And it's been 10 years since the Washington County Community Foundation has put on the Day of Giving, and over $10 million has been spread back into the community, which is an incredible amount of support. And it's an incredible opportunity for all the nonprofits reflected on this call to participate in it. As is the mission of the foundation, is to improve the quality of life in Washington County by promoting and facilitating philanthropy. And one great way to do that is through the Day of Giving, which this year is Thursday, September 14th, and it runs 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's not a 24-hour event, but Alicia Walls, the CEO, Chief Operating Officer for the foundation, will go into more details about that. Over the next several months, you'll be hearing more about the nonprofit leadership and engagement activities through the foundation, and that it is a great resource. It'll be a great resource for all the nonprofits in the area that serve Washington County residents. So we appreciate your participation today, and Alicia will, in the slideshow, put in my email, our phone number here, and that we are a resource for you to participate in and to, to work with the foundation to supporting all our residents here throughout the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Yeah, we're very excited to have Joanne on the team here with us at the WCCF. I know she's a familiar face to many of you, and as she mentioned, you'll be hearing from her more in this new role. So reach out if you have any questions. So just to get started, this is a required training for WCCF Gives this year. So if everybody could just take a minute and drop your name and the charity you're representing into the chat. We want to make sure that you get credit for being here. And we know sometimes your email addresses, your Zoom handles don't always give us all the details. So this is a really helpful way for us to know who's joining us today on the call. And so now, getting started, let's just take 1 minute to really celebrate and look back at the history of Gives Day. I know so many of you have been with us since the very first year, every year, growing, learning how to really optimize the day, getting donors excited and engaged, and triumphing in meeting those incredible goals that you've met. As Joanne mentioned, in 10 years' time, we've awarded $10 million in cumulative grant making through the Gives program. And so we're really excited to kind of start this next era of WCCF Gives right now. So we thought it's time to take a minute. We've done great things. We've made great progress. But now that we're 10 years in, let's just take a minute and hit refresh and think about where we're going as we move forward. So as Joanne mentioned, yes, Gives Day has been set for Thursday, September 14th. It is a chilly May day, so it seems like Gives Day is a long way off, but it really isn't. We have just a few weeks. And so we want to just take a second to encourage you to register. I just checked in with Rachel, our grants program associate, who told me that we only have 17 Gives registrations right now. So if you're on this call and you have not yet registered for the Day of Giving, we're hopeful that as soon as we wrap up, you will get that registration in. The deadline is approaching on Thursday, June 1st. And so if you have not yet done that, be sure to visit WCCFgives.org, where you can access the registration form. It's going to look very familiar to you, but there are a couple of things this year that are new, and we wanted to highlight that. So among them is the submittable registration form. If anyone has submitted a grant application or any other kind of competitive cycle application in the recent months, you will see we're using a new platform and it's submittable. Some of you may be familiar with submittable. We know from our Meet the Grantmaker session in February that some of the other local funders also use this technology. So, you know, you can have an integrated tool in order to manage your requests. If you don't have a submittable account, the process is easy. You can create your account and then from there, manage your organization's different applications. One thing that is new as far as the registration form itself is the ACH upload. One of the things that does impact our ability to pay out Gives grants is when we don't have your organization's bank account information. As you all know, we made the shift a few years ago to pay out all of our grants via ACH, and that's been great. I think it's been working out really well. I hope you guys agree. And so if we don't have that information handy, it can start to really delay the payout process. So what we decided to do this year that's new is to put that ACH form as part of registration, right? Because if you're registering for Gives, you're an eligible charity, you meet all the criteria. The goal is that you're going to be raising money through this event. So you're going to be getting something at the end of the Gives process. So we're going to need that information anyway. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to wait to get your registration in. You know, we've heard many times, oh, the treasurer is out of town. Like, I don't have the checkbook. We don't have this information. The person who's doing the registration isn't the person with that financial information. So take steps now to connect with whoever you need to connect with at your organization to get the information you need to complete that form, because it is part of the registration process. Another thing that's really exciting about the submittable platform is that if any changes are required to your registration, we can manage those changes directly through submittable. You know, things happen every year, and sometimes there's a lot of back and forth depending on, you know, when a charity registers, what information they provide, and what information ultimately needs to be part of that profile. And, you know, we were trying to manage that information through phone calls and emails. You're busy, we're busy. What's a better way? This is a better way. And so, you know, we'll be able to make those changes directly through your submittable registration. And then when they're done, we'll be able to let you know through an automated email that your charity profile has been approved and it's been posted. And we'll post the profiles to the Gives Day site as soon as they've been verified. So I know that the 17 of you that have already registered, you know, we're in the process of verifying those profiles now. And then the rest of you, as you register, will be verifying that information as it's received. These are all going to look familiar to you, these ongoing requirements. So what enables a charity to participate in Gives Day? First and foremost, you must be a 501c3 organization. You must have a physical presence in Washington County. You must register with the BCO. Again, registering is a best practice, even if your organization is not required to register. And so you want to be sure that, you know, if it's something you have to do, you're doing it. And for those of you who say, oh, well, you know, it's just one more thing to do, or we don't really need to do it, you know, it gives credibility to your organization. I just was on the BCO website this morning because I just wanted to pull some rates. And for organizations with gross annual contributions of $25,001 to $100,000, it costs $100 to register. For charities with less than $25,000 in gross annual contributions, it's only $15 to register. And so again, it's not a huge financial commitment, but it goes a long way in helping to give your organization credibility, which is really important. Another thing that is really good to be mindful of with the BCO, and if you're proactive, if you're getting close to that threshold where you do have to register, is the bump. I call it the bump. Because, you know, you'll be skirting right below where you need to be. You're not required to register, but then something great happens. You're successful with your fundraising, and suddenly you bump over that $25,000 threshold. At that point, you're obligated to register. So be proactive. You wanted to have a great Gives Day. You want to have a successful year. You want to meet your goals. Go ahead and register. And then once you get to that $25,000 threshold, you're already set. So definitely something to think about. Get that BCO registration in. If you're required to register, obviously, you're going to need to have that paperwork placed and that registration complete in order to participate in Gives Day. Another thing that we always require every year is a Form 990. Please submit the whole Form 990, not just the first page. You know, we use this information not only for Gives Day, but we use it for other things throughout the year. You know, if a donor wants to talk about a charity, or if we're aware of a program that might be great, you know, we refer back to those 990s frequently. And so, you know, we need to have that documentation handy. Additionally, you know, we ask for your financials. Audited financial statements are the gold standard. That's absolutely preferred. You know, we really believe in audits, and we understand that some of the smaller organizations that file a postcard, the Form 990 postcard, you know, don't have the opportunity to list their financials in that filing. And so we're going to need a P&L statement and a balance sheet in order to verify your financial information. And so, you know, it's important that we have that accessible to us. And if you're an organization that maybe doesn't have financial software, or, you know, is seeking to improve your financial process improvements, I'm going to give a plug right now for our capacity building cycle, because those are exactly the type of projects you know, we like to fund. So if this is something where, you know, it's been a challenge the last couple of years, you want your organization to do better, you want to move forward, talk to us about that. That's a separate conversation, but it's really important to the overall registration process for this. Additionally, we have a few more requirements. Obviously, the participation in the Back to Basics training, either live or by video, is part of Gives Day Registration 2023. You're already here. Your names are in the chat, so you know you're getting credit for this. If you represent another organization, or there are other organizations who are interested in Gives but weren't able to attend today, we are recording this session, as you're already aware, and we'll have that video available so that, you know, those people can also get this really good information. We're also asking charities to actively promote Gives on your social media platforms and follow the foundation's social media accounts. And this is important too, not only for the day of giving, but just for regular information. You know, you want to stay apprised of our activities and opportunities, deadlines, all of those things. And we've really been ramping up our social media presence. So in addition to getting emails from us, you know, having our information on the website, you know, there's going to be communication through the social media channels. So it's really important that you follow us. All right. So again, back to basics. All right. Creating your Gives profile. The first thing that you want to do is list your charity's full legal name. This name should coincide with your tax ID number. You know, we talk about some of those changes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When we are going through the verification process, we are looking at what's on that 990. We're looking at the IRS website. We're looking at the presentation of that name, and we're crossing it against what the registration is, and they should match. So again, I understand there's all sorts of variations. There's AKAs and DBAs and acronyms, all those things. But for the sake of donors, the name that is associated with your organization at the IRS is the name that we're going to be using for Gives Day. Same thing with your mission statement. There is always, every year, a lot of back and forth about this. A mission statement should be clear. You should know exactly what it is. It should be consistent all the time. As it appears on your 990 is what we're looking at. And again, if you don't have a 990 or you're not sure, you want to refer to another of your governing documents so that we can pull that off, so that we can verify its accuracy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Your profile must include a functional phone number. Again, it sounds silly, but we have had situations where I had a donor, it was after Gives Day, but they were on our website, they saw the charity's name, they wanted to make a gift. It was year end, so it was time sensitive, but they wanted to call the charity. And when they called the charity, there was no phone number, like the phone number didn't work. And so then we had to try to connect the donor with the charity using another communication method. And it was just really inconvenient for everybody. So again, if you're going to be a part of this day, you want to be open to donor inquiries. You don't want that donor not to give you that gift. You want to make it easy for people to connect with you. And so you have to have that phone number there. Same thing with email address, a monitored email address. It is very tempting to direct things to a house account like info@charityabc.com. But again, if there's somebody who's legitimately interested in supporting your organization, wants to reach out because they want to learn more, or they want to reach out because they want to give you a gift, like you want to be able to connect with them. And so, having that monitored email as part of your profile is really important. So I said we'd circle back on mission here in a second, and this is it. This was taken from an email I got just last week from PANO, which is the Pennsylvania Association of Nonprofit Organizations. Many of you are probably aware of it. Many of you are probably registered with PANO and you're aware of their standards program. And so they're a really great organization serving our Commonwealth. And I read this snippet and I said, I have to include this. Is it true that there are no legal implications to an organization's mission statement? That's just something that helps an organization drive its activities, the question asks. And the answer is what? It's a somewhat common misconception about nonprofit mission statements. This is not true. There are legal implications to your mission. It goes on to say that Peter Brinkerhoff in Mission-Based Management reminds us that the mission statement is not only the reason you work or volunteer for your organization, but it also has important legal implications for staff and board. If you do not perform your mission, the IRS can take away your tax-exempt status under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. So again, it's not just us being exacting. It's not just us trying to nitpick over every word that's part of your mission. There's legal implications to that mission statement. You can't just change it arbitrarily. There's a process through which you have to make that change. And certainly there are times when you want to update your mission. The Community Foundation did it a few years ago because we got to the point where we decided we needed to streamline and we really wanted to hone and focus our words there. So that's not to say that you can't do it, but from our perspective, the mission that your organization was approved for that C3 status, that's the mission that we need to promote as what your organization does. So there's some continuity there. Okay, so again, back to basics, right? Choosing your Gives contact. This individual will be listed on your charity's WCCF Gives profile page on the Gives Day website. This person, the role that they hold at your organization could vary, from charity to charity. Some cases you want to list your president, your CEO, your executive director. Other cases, it might be your development staff person, your marketing staff person, a board chairman. Whoever you choose is the best representative of your organization for this specific program. You want to make sure that person is familiar with Gives and its elements and is available to address those questions. So the person you're listing as the contact should be accessible through the phone number and the email address that you provide. So again, if somebody wants to reach out directly to your charity, they're reaching out in the appropriate way. Now, from our perspective, the WCCF Gives contact plays a really important role because if we have a question or we need to follow up on your Gives Day registration, we're going to call that contact. If we are issuing correspondence or updates, we're going to go to that Gives Day contact. Whenever Gives Day is over and we've processed your grant, that Gives contact is going to be aware. That's who we're communicating with. Same thing with the list of the WCCF Gives contributors. It's going to that designated contact. And so from our perspective, we're able to streamline and centralize that information, get it to the person in your organization who is the point person for Gives Day. And, for us, it makes it a lot easier to know that, those messages have been received or not received. If there's a failed, communication and email bounce back from your Gives Day contact, then we know that we need to figure out, what's happening at your organization. So moving on to gift processing. So I know that there have been many questions. There's always a lot of excitement and anticipation about the WCCF Gives check contribution form. And we are committing to make that available in June this year. And donors may begin mailing their gifts as soon as that form becomes available. But the one thing we want to really emphasize is that charities should not encourage donors to send their check contributions to the charity. Instead, you should really encourage your donors to mail your checks directly to us at the Community Foundation. And here are the reasons why. we can verify and process the gifts immediately. There's no delay between when, a check is presented and when it's received by us and processed. And then most importantly, we can quickly address any issues related to the gift. The stories I could tell about the checks that we receive are just, you would think that we are making them up, but we've gotten checks for the wrong pay, the wrong date, way in the past, way in the future, no signature. The math of the check, like the total for the check doesn't match the math on the form. Like all these things happen all the time, every year, but we need a way to be able to quickly connect with the donor to get that situation resolved, whatever it might be. So again, if a charity gets a check, let's say they get a check on August 1st, they don't get the checks to us till September 14th, then it's the 14th until we figure out what's going on. Then we got to reach out to the donor and get the situation resolved. Like if we have a check with a wrong date on it, we can't cash it. And, pretend like that's a $10,000 check for your charity. Your charity is going to miss out on Gives Day if we can't get a resolution. So the more time that we have to identify and address those issues, the better it is for your charity in the long term. If you happen to receive a Gives check at your charity, this is what you should do. Ensure that there's a completed Gives check contribution form for that gift. Again, that form will be available on our website. You can get it right from there and in all the communications that we'll make with your Gives Day contact. And you want to attach the completed form to each check with a paper clip, no taper staples. And this request comes from our staff who begged me to include this in this presentation. Checks that are taped to a paper and then we have to remove it, they get jammed in the check scanner. And it just causes the processing of the Gives Day contributions to take more time, to be problematic. The last thing we would want is for a donor, let's say, to write us a check for $10,000. We have to remove the tape, we damage the check, and then we have to try to get another check to get it processed for Gives Day. Nobody wants to be in that situation. So if you happen to encounter this, or you know of anyone who is notorious in taping things or stapling things to paper, please just encourage them. Paper clips are great. If it's a standalone, donors can always try to fold a check, in their Gives form and we can process it accordingly. But yeah, that's a public service announcement from the WCCF team. And then finally, if you could mail the check to us by the postmark date. The postmark date system has been working really well for the Gives Day processing. And so we're continuing that again this year. So drop your check in the mail, make sure it has that postmark date by September 14th. Please do not hand deliver checks to our office on Gives Day. Again, it helps with the flow if we can get things in time. And certainly, we're asking charities not to collect checks. So you really probably shouldn't have a stack of checks by Gives Day anyway. All right, so going from some of the technical things to getting your donors excited about Gives Day, right? Because that is an essential part of having success in this event. And so the first question you want to ask yourself is, have you made WCCF Gives your annual appeal? I know there was a time when local charities, participated in Gives Day, and then maybe a couple months later in December did an annual appeal that was virtually the same, just the timing was different, right? Same donors, same requests, same dollar levels, all those things. And then they had the brilliant idea of saying, hey, why don't we make WCCF Gives our annual appeal? Combine the two, streamline the effort, make the ask, have that bonus pool to ramp up the support. And what we've heard over these 10 years is that is an extremely effective strategy. So if this is something that you haven't done yet or you haven't thought about yet, definitely give it some consideration, because again, the secret is, you could possibly generate exactly the same results, but if you do it through Gives Day, you get the added bonus of the bonus pool dollars, and we handle all the processing, right? So just something to keep in mind, again, to streamline, make it easier for your organization and really maximize your potential for earning during the Gives Day event. Another thing that you should definitely think about if you haven't done this before is working one-on-one with your most loyal supporters. Again, who the dedicated donors are of your organization. You can track how they give, when they're available. Maybe they only give to you during the summer months because they're in Florida during the winter months, or this or that or whatever. But are you connecting with them individually and asking them to give through the day of giving. Again, if they're annual givers and they're giving to you, let's just pretend in December, chances are they'll probably give to you in September if you ask them to give then, but you just need to make that ask. So, work with your most loyal supporters. If you have donors who, are giving to you, again, regularly at generous amounts, but they're not giving through Gives Day, try to turn them on to Gives Day, because it would really make a lot of sense for you. And again, if they love your organization, they're going to love knowing that you're going to get a little bit more because of that bonus pool. And then finally, have you ever considered running your own match incentive campaign? The foundation hosts the bonus pool. We'll prorate that out based upon the results of the day. But there are some charities that have, again, over this past decade, ran their own match or incentive campaigns. So what I mean by that is, again, they have one of those loyal supporters. Let's say they have a contributor who wants to see the charity do well during Gives Day. And so the development person at the charity goes to that donor and says, would you be willing to donate the $5,000 you give us every year for the Day of Giving? Would you be able to put it up as a match so that we can raise more money from other donors? And I guarantee that, the donor's going to think about that. And hopefully they're going to say, yes, like, why not? This is a great way to generate excitement and to do something that can help to get more funds for your charity. And so what you can do then is put that match, coordinate your own match through the side. Someone monitors your Gives Day contributions during the day, and promote that, hey, we have a donor, whether they want to be anonymous or not, that's up to them, but we have a donor, we have a $5,000 match. If we can hit $5,000, we're going to get this additional $5,000 and take home $10,000. So you can structure it like that and really generate results. And again, we've seen success with this. It takes planning, it takes coordination for sure, but it's well worth the effort. And again, you're just continuing to play into the excitement from Gives Day. A few other things to think about, how and when are you communicating this opportunity? So what you want to do is try to get the message out as frequently as you can and through different channels, right? Because you have likely a donor base that's mixed. You're going to have donors who are traditional check writing donors. You're going to have donors who are maybe more online and tech savvy. And so you really want to be mindful of your strategy and make sure that you're giving donors enough time to plan for Gives Day. And you want to make sure that you're hitting all of those different channels where they are so that they know that this opportunity exists. They're excited about being a part of it. And then they know what to do when the time comes. And then finally, are your communication details accurate? Again, like we've been monitoring activity, we've been monitoring communications for the past 10 years. And these are some of the things that we have seen multiple times. The bonus pool is prorated, not a one-to-one match, which means that we take that $100,000 pool, $50,000 is focused on a donor distribution. The other $50,000 is focused on a dollars distribution. The dollars, we take the total amount of the day raised for each charity, and then we break that $50,000 up proportionately so that it's prorated to each of the organizations. Same thing with the number of donors. Take the total number of donors. Each charity has their own individual number that goes to that total. Then we prorate that $50,000 based upon those numbers. It's not a dollar for dollar match. And so, we don't want anyone to be disappointed thinking, oh, if I give $1,000, my charity is going to get $1,000. Emphasize the fact that the bonus pool is prorated. Another thing, and people are amazing. Like we have tried every possible way to, ensure that someone doesn't accidentally give through our primary site in anticipation of the Day of Giving. We've turned off links, we've redirected web addresses, we're doing all sorts of things, but inevitably somebody always somehow finds a way to make a gift before Gives Day. And then we have to go through the process of trying to make sure that, we can tend to that gift because it came through before the portal opens. So again, the Gives online donation portal does not open till 8 a.m. on Gives Day. So no one's going to see a mechanism by which they can give, and that is 100% intentional. Once that site goes live, everybody will have the ability to get on and to make their gift electronically through that portal. So just really emphasize that. Additionally, the giving window is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's not 24 hours. I know this has come up many times and people have asked, well, why not? We have seen, like, again, we've got 10 years worth of data. We see the trends. We see when the activity is greatest. And I can tell you that it is very unlikely that your charity is going to get $1 million at 3 o'clock in the morning through a web donation. It's just not, that's just not how people give. And so, some people have the staffing to be able to do that. We don't. Again, some people may have, other things happening with their organization where a 24-hour gift makes sense. With this, we have seen success from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that's the giving window. And then finally, contact information should be clear. So what do I mean by that? Well, a couple of years ago, we had one of our participants send out a solicitation to their donors for Gives Day. And all of the information in that solicitation was specific to the charity that was participating, except for one thing, and that was the phone number. And so what happened was, there were people who got that mailing that didn't want to be on the mailing list. They weren't interested in giving, whatever the case may be. And they contacted us and they were like, take us off your mailing list. And I'm like, well, we can't take you this, we didn't send this out. And there was a lot of confusion. So again, if you want to put contact information for the community foundation on there, just be clear and saying, if you have questions about, giving through an IRA, let's say, contact the community foundation, here's their information. Or if you want to talk to us about Gives Day or anything else, here's our information, contact us here. Just make sure that that's clear so that donors don't end up confused and disappointed whenever they were thinking that they were calling someone and they were actually calling somebody else. The other thing that I think is really exciting about Gives Day is that, you can see where there's some opportunity to kind of maybe take a traditional donor to an online donor. And whenever you can, you really tout the benefits of that. Not everyone is going to be interested in online giving. Based upon even the trend that we've seen with Gives Day over the years, this is a community of traditional check writing donors, right? And that works. If that's a formula that works, stick with it. We're not suggesting you change it. But if there's somebody who's on the fringe, or maybe somebody who, look at your giving history, gives and then doesn't give, they've got a busy lifestyle, maybe an online gift would be a better solicitation for them. Try to structure it in that way and, send them an email on Gives Day as opposed to try to getting that check in if they might forget. I would be a perfect candidate for this, right? Because I don't even know where my checkbook is. Sometimes I've written a check maybe a couple of times the last few years. If someone sends me a solicitation and wants me to mail in a check, I'm probably going to forget about it. But if somebody sends me an email and says, hey, can you give online? You do your credit card. I'm probably going to do that. So again, look at some of your trends, look at your demographic information, look at like who might be a fit, because in that scenario with me, your odds of getting that online gift are way better than if you're trying to you needed to write a check. And like I said, the converse is if you've got someone who's a really solid, consistent check giver, no need to break something or fix something that's not broken. Don't try to convert them to online givers. Let them stay in their lane. But you can use your different marketing strategies to make those solicitations for those different jobs. The other thing to mention is just be aware that gifts from the same donor are not adding to your charity's donor bonus. So again, we've been tracking the data. We've seen this over the years, typically among people who are closest to an organization. And so what do we mean by this? So let's say a donor mails in a check for Gives Day. It's to benefit your organization. Okay, we got that. Then a couple weeks later, we get a gift from that donor again on Gives Day through an online gift. Again, it's just that donor. It's attributed to that donor. Those are the same donor. So even though your numbers on the website might show 50 donors, actually there's only 49 because we can pair that exact same gift to that exact same donor. So those types of things aren't necessarily adding to your donor bonus. Now I know there are instances where you've got people who are really passionate and they see your charities like reaching a threshold, let's say. They've already mailed in their check, but you're $100 away from $10,000 and they want to help you reach that goal. That's one thing, but it's another, whenever you're getting 6 or 7 checks from the same donor. They only need to write one check no matter how many charities they want to support. And again, they're only going to count that one time. We do try to make certainly accommodations for household. So, if there are couples or partners in the same house, there's opportunities for each of them to get each of their gifts counted. Certainly, we can accommodate that. But I'm talking about like the same person writing multiple checks. So just be aware of that. If it's something you've done, don't do it. It's not helping your cause. And if you know somebody's doing it, you want to make sure that you can maybe just tell them that they only need to write one check. All right. So this is something too that's kind of come up more in the last couple of years, and that is in terms of the schedule of WCCF contributors. And certainly, we're a donor service organization. We understand the importance of saying thank you. You want to be timely in your communications. You want to make sure that, donors know that they're appreciated. But you don't necessarily need that list in order to say thanks. If you've done your homework, if you've been meeting with your donors, if you've been really working your lists and doing your things, it's likely you already know who has supported your charity. I can tell you in all the years that I've been here, I can't even think of an instance where we got a check, a certain check of a certain amount that Betsy had no idea was coming. These things take a lot of work and effort. Building these relationships take time. And normally there's a lot of communication between charities and donors, in that solicitation process. So, if you probably already know who supported your charity. And if you're not sure, you can always just develop a more generic thank you message and just send it to everybody. If you want to get specific, or there's people who want to be thanked immediately, they like to stay in the loop, be sure to relate to them that you won't receive your Gives grant or donor schedule until the fourth quarter. And we're going to try to do what we can on our end too, to try to just make sure that those expectations are understood in terms of the receipt, as well as on our website. And speaking of receipts, that's a segue. Please do not provide your donors with a tax receipt for their Gives Day contribution. Again, we've seen different instances of this surfacing up throughout the years. Some of it has just been things we've learned about superficially. Other times, if we've given to a charity, we've gotten a receipt, we've been like, oh no. The foundation is receiving all of the donors for their gifts. So again, if this is a concern that your donor is waiting for a receipt, they're not. We're working to get those receipts in motion as soon as we become aware of the gift. If the method by which we send the receipt directly relates to the information that the donor provides in their giving method. Donors who give by check and provide an email address will get an email receipt. Donors who give by check but don't have an email address will get a hard copy receipt. And then donors who give by credit card on Gives Day will automatically get a receipt as soon as their transaction is complete. So all of those things are happening as quickly as possible. We try to receipt the donors who give by check in batches as quickly as we can as those checks are coming in. But just understand, as volume increases, we do reach a point where that's just not feasible anymore. So sometimes it does take a couple more days for those receipts to get processed. The other thing that's really important as far as the receipting process goes is not all Gives gifts are tax deductible. So IRA contributions, which have been truly increasing in popularity in recent years, they require special acknowledgement language because of the vehicle through which that gift is made. And so, we're mindful when those IRA contributions come in that they are noted as such and they're receipted accordingly. And so that's something that may not necessarily be apparent to your organization, on that donor schedule. And if you're not sure what constitutes a receipt, right? It includes information such as the dollar amount and a disclaimer. And so you can see that language below. But again, you're welcome to send thank you notes and thank you letters, but those messages shouldn't include the elements that a gift acknowledgement receipt would. So looking ahead, right? What can we do to help expedite the Gives grant process? The most important thing is the timely submission of WCCF grant reports. This has been, one of the things that has really delayed the process overall is our need to kind of chase down some overdue grant reports that either came due or were due maybe well before Gives Day that just aren't in. Because grant reports are required for all restricted grants of $5,000 or more, and we are not able to process a new grant until any existing reporting obligations have been satisfied. So how do we address this? Please be proactive in reaching out to us if you get a new bank account, or be proactive in reaching out to us with any changes to your designated Gives contact person so that they can be in the loop on that. I can tell you that we receive thousands of Gives gifts every single year, and accurately processing each of them takes time. There's multiple stages to the process. We want to make sure that we're verifying all the gifts and that we are, fulfilling that donor intent, and all of the record keeping that we're doing is accurate. And so, please understand that it is very much a process. It's all hands on deck here, and everybody's working to ensure that that information is accurate and timely. And sometimes too, we're presented with really unusual situations that take time to reach a resolution. Like I said before, sometimes it has to do with the check and the way the check was issued. Sometimes it's a completely different set of circumstances that, it might take us a little bit of back and forth to get resolved. And so all of those things kind of factor into, our timeline and how quickly we can process all these contributions. And then there's obviously the things that are totally out of our control, such as mail processing delays. And so, legitimately, we have not received eligible postmark checks until early October. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but this is not an unusual thing. And knowing that some of the challenges the U.S. Postal Service is facing, we can only expect that those types of things are going to continue. So with that in mind, we're definitely trying to make clear that we will not be able to begin processing the Gives grants until November. It's just not realistic for us to do anything at any less time, knowing the Gives program has grown so much, and all of those other factors that I've talked about before. It's just, not possible for us to turn around so much information in anything less. We try to be as equitable as possible, and so we're rotating the processing order annually, so that charities at the beginning of the alphabet will go 1 year, charities at the end of the alphabet going reverse alphabetical order will be the order for another. And then once processing begins, it takes us approximately 10 business days to pay out all of those grants, just because of the limitations on our bank account and how much we can process in a day. The one thing too that came up last year, I think more than in any other years, is that we just had many, many inquiries regarding the status of a charity's Gives grant. Phone calls, emails, we've been out and about in the community. And certainly we understand why you're asking, and we do. And we want to try to get them to you as quickly as you can. But in trying to respond to all of these inquiries, we're really slowing down the process of processing the grant. So again, please understand that it's going to take us some time. We'll try to give you updates when we can, and just know that the processing isn't going to begin until November. So again, please be patient as we work through all of this information. So kind of moving on to branding and presentation. We recently launched a new design for the next era of the Gives program. The files for the logo are available for download on our WCCF Gives toolkit that is on the WCCF Gives website, and there's a variety of file formats there that you can download for your use. And you want to start incorporating the design into your WCCF Gives campaign now, right? Because it seems like it's a long time away, but it really isn't. We're also going to be refreshing the WCCF Gives website, and the new design is going to incorporate some of the new branding elements and a new color palette. The presentation, the information is going to be more streamlined, so we hope that's going to be helpful for you. But the functionality of the site is going to be the same as in prior years. So you don't have to worry about donors going onto the site and having a new experience. It's going to be very familiar for them. The other thing the refresh is going to include is a special notation for charities that are audited annually. So again, those audited financial statements are something you want to strive for. And so we're really going to highlight the organizations that do participate in an annual audit. And then again, follow us on social media. You'll be able to see some progress updates on the website refresh on our page. So here's just a sneak peek. This is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. But right now we're still in design and construction mode. Another thing that we're going to do when we launch the new Gives site is incorporate more photography into the design. So we need your help with this. You tell us your Gives story. We're asking that participants send us up to 5 quality, compelling photos for us to use, in Gives Day promotions. But I'll be 100% honest when I say we might use them for other things too, if they're really good. And so you can email those photos to marketing@wccf.net. I say get them to us ASAP, and hopefully you'll be able to see your charity featured, in a different marketing channel. here's just a sample of what we're saying. Again, this is the current site, so it's not going to look exactly like this, but the fact that a photo is going to be, an image, when you land on the home page, it's going to have, your little WCCF Gives charity button on there, just highlighting the different organizations. We happen to have some art for Watchful Shepherd from a Philanthropy Matters article by our content creator, Megan Fabionic, which just bring it in the paper this past Sunday. So we happen to have this handy, and that's why we put it into the design, but we're going to be hoping to do more similar things with the photos you provide. All right. And so one more exciting announcement for Gives Day this year, and we're bringing back the Get Your Board on Board Challenge. So you might recall this was something we launched last year, and it's a way for Gives Day charities to really engage the people who are closest to them, right? Your board should be on board. Your board should know you're participating in Gives Day. The board should want to give. And so, when you're thinking about who you're going to start your solicitations, where you're going to start, you want to start with your board. And so charities that secure 100% board participation through Gives Day will be entered for a chance to win a $5,000 grant from the Acorn Fund. So how do you get registered for this opportunity? What we're going to need you to do is provide us with a listing of your board members' names and contact information through the registration form. And we'll make that available after Gives Day is closed. Right now we want you to focus on getting ready for the day of giving. And then once we've got that taken care of, then we're going to move on to this, right? And so you need to submit that board schedule by August 31st, in order to participate in the Get Your Board on Board Challenge. So you're saying, okay, well, why do I need to register, for this? If I'm participating in Gives Day, right? Don't you know that my charity is interested? And certainly they want the $5,000, and that's true, but there is no way for us to know who is a member of every participating charity's board. And, there's more than 100 charities that register for the day. And then you think of, wow, how many people are on a board, from 5 to 30, that's a ton of people. So it's just very difficult for us to try to manage all that information when we don't really know. So we need you to let us know who is on your board.
So they want
and then additionally, you're saying, okay, well, why do you need to ask for their contact information? Well, for our purposes, it's for pairing, to ensure that we're correctly pairing the donors who are on your board with the donors of Gives Day. We need a point of reference that is current and accurate. They say that people change their email address, every couple of years. And so even if we have information on file from the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's still current. I can tell you in going through Gives Day over the years, I've been shocked at how many people have exactly the same name, and even more unique names that you wouldn't think would be very common. Sometimes people have the same names. You've got family members with the same names living on the same street. I mean, we've seen many scenarios that make you question whether or not it's a duplicate or it's a different person. And so we need your help with this so that we know that we're pairing the correct people with the correct givers for your organization. So additionally, in order for us to count that Gives gift towards this incentive, the board member's name has to be included in the payment method or the acknowledgement line of that person's gift. So again, people might have different names, let's say I recently got married and my maiden name is on my credit card, but I'm a board member with my married name. Again, that's something that maybe we would not have known at the Community Foundation, but because we have that board listing, that's something we can sort out. And so that acknowledgement line becomes important. If somebody wants to give through their business, but we don't know that this person's the owner of that business, that acknowledgement line becomes important. So again, we need these points of reference in order to ensure that we're properly matching people. It is possible for donors to give anonymously, but again, that board member has to have their name somewhere in the payment method. So let's say the board member gives to 20 charities and they always give anonymously, one of which is yours, and they're on the board of your charity. They can list their acknowledgement line as being anonymous, but if their check has their name on it with address information that you provided through your Get Your Board on Board registration, again, we can pair that to the donor's gift. That donor can remain anonymous, but we can still count them towards your participation total. And then finally, all the gifts have to be Gives eligible. So they have to be made in time, and they have to be $25 or more with the postmark date or given online. Since board sizes vary greatly, we're going to be tracking the board participation percentage again, instead of the number of board members who give. But remember, each board member will also count towards the prorated $50,000 bonus pool distribution. So again, you're going to be registered for a chance to win the Get Your Board on Board challenge if you get that 100%. And then whatever gift they give you counts towards that donor bonus pool and the dollar bonus pool too. So it's just a really great way, again, to streamline your giving. So this is what happens then after the fact. So after Gives Day, like I said, we cross your provided board schedule against your list of Gives donors. Once we figure out which charities have 100% board participation, they're entered for that chance to win the Acorn Fund grant. We use a software program to choose the winner at random, and then we'll announce the grant recipient in the fourth quarter. And this is really like the last phase of the Gives Day process, because all the other things need to get done first, right? We need to get all the gifts in. We need to get all the gifts verified. We need to get them receipted. We need to get the bonus pool distribution sorted. We need to get your grants together. And then at that point, then we can figure out what boards are on board. If for some reason there has been a change to your board after you've registered for Get Your Board on Board, let us know. Additionally, if you become aware somehow that the donor gave through an address or a method that didn't align with what's in the registration, again, let us know. Sometimes these things happen. We want to try to help you as best we can, but we can't help to fix these things if we're not aware of them. And so, way to go. These charities got their boards on board during Gives Day 2022. I can tell you that last year we had 116 charities registered for the Get Your Board on Board challenge. And of that, I'm sorry, we had 106, I misspoke there. We had 116 charities registered for Gives Day. We had 35 charities registered for the Get Your Board on Board challenge. And then of that 35, we had 12 with 100% board participation. And these are the 12 charities. So I just want to take a minute to congratulate them on their hard work, because that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, look at the numbers, 116 opportunities, but it came down to 12 organizations that we really knew had met that goal. So good work there. And it's possible for anybody who's on this call. It's possible for your charity to do that. We really encourage you to do so. The Washington County Gay Straight Alliance received the Acorn Fund grant last year. So special congratulations to them. Looking ahead, you want to save the date for our next training. It is Tuesday, August 1st at noon via Zoom. And we're going to be focusing on WCCF Gives marketing strategy using email services specifically. Like, it's such a cost-effective, useful tool. You can get analytics. You really can see what engagement is, where people are clicking. If you're not using an email subscription service, definitely want to think about it. Definitely join us for the call. Not only will we really help to show why this is a great tool, but we're going to be talking about ways you can really maximize your email campaigns. And if you need to contact anybody here at the WCCF regarding Gives Day or grant making in general, here's Rachel's contact information, Joanne's, and then mine. Please feel free to reach out to us with your questions, concerns, anything like that. We are here to help you. And then before we wrap things up, I just want to give you a couple of reminders. I know many of you on this call participated in our recent community snapshot focus groups. Thank you so much for your time and insights. We found those to be really engaging, exciting, informative sessions, and we learned a lot. And if you weren't able to attend, or even if you were, right now we have a survey open for anyone to share their thoughts with regards to the community snapshot program. And then also, if we could, again, just reinforce the fact, if you have a grant report, it's due, or you have questions about the grant reporting process, please reach out to us. Let us know. We want you to be able to get those reports in a timely manner. In addition to having the Gives Day form, the registration form through Submittable, our grant report system now is through Submittable. And we've really taken a lot of steps to try to make this a streamlined, intuitive process for you. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, or you have a grant report coming due, please log in, get your Submittable account set up, and get that report in. It's really important to the processing of all of our awards. And then also I want to give a quick shout out for Capacity Building Grant Cycle 2, which is coming up this summer. If you have an idea for something that you might like to submit a request for, please reach out to our office so we can talk to you. Again, financial process improvements would be a great option for some of our charities, as well as marketing communications tools, websites, marketing campaigns, those types of things. All right, so with that, we are going to open to questions. I'm going to stop my screen share here for a moment.
Alicia, thank you for that.
Sure, that was a lot of information. I know. Slide deck will be available. The recording will be available, and you can revisit anything anytime you like.
I just would encourage people, if you signed on a little bit late to the presentation, would you please put in the chat your name and your organization or organizations that you are representing so that we can track that, since this webinar was a requirement. Alicia, just to clarify for a second, say if somebody wants to send in a check August 14th, but they have it correctly marked for the day of giving. Is that correct? They don't need to postmark or post date it till September 14th.
Correct. Donors can send their checks in real time. So if it's August 1st, they can date it for August 1st, stick it in the mail on August 1st. It'll count towards. But the last day for a check that will be eligible for Gives has to be postmarked by the 14th. And it is better if they write them in real time. Occasionally, we do get checks that are dated for the 14th, well in advance of the 14th, and then we have to hold them and wait to process them. And we can do it. It's not ideal, so if you can avoid it, try to.
Right. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
That's
the other thing is, we got a question in the chat that organization changed their mission statement and it won't be reflected on the most recent 990. Is there some kind of guidance for that you'd like to provide?
Yeah, absolutely. Contact our office and let us know where you are in the process. Sometimes by the time you register, maybe it hasn't changed, but by the time Gives Day rolls around, it will. So, let us know. The other thing can be helpful is if you have some documentation as far as, your minutes from the board meeting where it was approved, what you've submitted so far, where you are in the process, that's helpful too. And then we can monitor that and then see what the outcome is when the time comes.
Since there is such a great number on here, I don't know what would be best, if somebody just wants to unmute and ask their question or to put it in the chat. Or I think there are some new messages in the chat as well.
Take them either way. I'm looking to see any questions. We allotted a whole half an hour for questions just to be safe. I know many of you are familiar faces. You guys are veterans. You've been involved with Gives Day for a long time. So you probably are just ready to get in and start getting your campaign together.
Will the slides from this presentation be available online?
Yes. So both the recording and the slide deck will be available on our website.
Thank you.
Yep. And we'll communicate when they're ready on our social media page. This is now my third plug for following us on social media. So I hope you guys are picking up on that.
Could I ask, given the number of organizations, you said 160 total, and I know that you keep allowing people to join, is there any conversation going on about increasing the total bonus pool, given that the number of participants keeps increasing?
So, and if I misspoke, I apologize. 116, I think, is the number where we were last year. But even so, at this juncture, we're committed to the $100,000 for the bonus pool. I know this question's kind of come up in the past, and really, that is out as an incentive. And so, we certainly want charities to get excited about the day. We want you to feel like it's a meaningful experience to participate in Gives Day. But from our perspective, we absorb all of the costs for the day. We do all the websites, these trainings, we've got staff time, we've got all of these things, and we're happy to provide that service. We work to get the $100,000 bonus pool, but I can tell you, even from your first rate fundraisers like Betsy, that's a challenge. And continuing that support is not easy. I know you guys have all experienced some of the fluctuations with giving. And so right now, that's what we can commit to. And that's kind of where we are. And we're kind of taking it year by year. Anybody else?
I apologize, I got on late. So if this has been addressed, I do apologize, but I know you mentioned trying to get people to get back to your Facebook page and follow you. And I know a number of years ago we had like the heart contest and like and share. Has there been any thought to trying to draw people back to the Facebook page or the website in some type of contest format? Just to get more people paying attention to Gives Day who maybe don't know about it. You know, we all solicit our current donors, but there's something to be said about finding new donors and fresh blood, basically.
So right now, we have done contests in the past. We've kind of allocated our time and effort and resources from those contests into the Get Your Board on Board initiative, mostly because, you know, again, we've been tracking so many things over time. We've seen that charities don't have full board participation through Gives Day, so we've really been encouraging people to focus their energies there. We're working to build our online presence, you know, through a number of different facets in different ways, and try to do that strategically. In some cases, you know, we've done contests to try to build awareness, but that hasn't necessarily translated to ongoing engagement or consistent support. So it's really trying to find that balance between getting the word out, but also getting the word out to, you know, the right individuals. And so we're trying to figure out, you know, kind of what that balance is. And we're going to promote Gives Day as best we can on our ends. And really at the end of the day, you know, as you guys know full well, it's all about the opportunity that you take advantage of these opportunities at your organizations and figure out how to reach out to your donors. Because we can create the awareness that the day is there, but it's really the charity making that request that results in a gift. You know, somebody has to be going there with a purpose. Very rarely have we seen, you know, people just kind of stumble onto Gives Day and just, you know, kind of not know where to go from there. If they're coming to give or they're writing a check, they know who they want to give to. And so it's really trying to, you know, find those people. And that's constantly what we're all doing all the time.
Alicia, there's a question on the Bureau of Charitable Organizations, and they log in on Keystone login, and it is the correct registration form for BCO, Charitable Organization.
BCO 10, make it your friend. And I actually can chat that. If you don't have that link, I can drop it in the chat right now for anybody who needs it. I had it, Joey and I talked about this. I'm like, I'm gonna have my BCO link ready to go if anybody needs it. There it is in the chat. And then also too, while we have a second, we're talking, I'm just going to drop in the link for the community snapshot survey. And we really would love to get as much participation as we can. And this has really been insightful. It's helping to shape our community snapshot project. I see Alexandra nodding her head. She was in our focus groups. I know she enjoyed them. Cherish, a lot of Kelly, all of you who gave your time. We really appreciate that. And I know many of you have some more things to share. So feel free to take advantage of that opportunity.
Alicia, could you also put the link in for the Gives Day toolkit that will have the updated branding?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that is coming next. Any more questions? You guys are quiet today. Like I said, everybody knows. Everybody knows all the things. But we, again, continue to look at the website. We've really been making a lot of text updates. And then once we go live on the new site, you know, you'll have access to the same information, like I said, hopefully in a more streamlined way.
And remember, the deadline is June 1st. There's
yes, get those registrations in.
So make sure you get it in.
All right, and then I just sent out the link to the logo downloads as well. That's it. We'll do a last call for questions. Anybody? Let's get your burning Gives Day question. No. Wow, we did good on time. Well, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your participation in this webinar. Thank you for your participation in Gives Day. We're looking forward to seeing your registration come through very, very soon, well in advance of June 1st. So have a great day. Thanks, guys.